Um, on the pretend that there's 100 people in the room, I'll say a very, very warm welcome to all of you on behalf of ERCA and PREPARE. This is a joint initiative as part of our contribution working with AIDL and the other FUTURAL group. ERCA, as you know, is one, like PREPARE, one pan-European representative organization. We provide platforms for knowledge sharing, and we try to actually collate views and present fairly clear representation to governments, primarily, obviously, in the European Commission and the other statutory bodies in Brussels. And I spotted this comment in the newspaper over the weekend. It says, "The smartphone, a monument to globalization." And obviously, in this era of discussion about tariffs and everything else, what's happened over the last 10, 15 years in terms of the power of the smartphone is nothing short of remarkable. And it is an opportunity for rural as well as urban areas to try to bridge the divide between the two. There are plenty now of opportunities developing all the time in how we use digital knowledge and digital expertise. And I think that, in part, this is what Future is all about. When we were invited to join initially, I had two thoughts in my mind. The first was a little bit mischievous and a little bit selfish, in that I wanted to know just how easy or just how difficult it was for a small organization like ERCA to actually participate fully in a Horizon Europe project. Would there be complications, difficulties in terms of accountability, in terms of ability to access payments and how to record, participate? I was confident we could contribute expertise from the board of trustees that I have and from our membership, and the same I'm sure applies to PREPARE. But I was concerned, and I thought, well, if I can see how we get through FUTURAL, it'll help us then to perhaps campaign to the Horizon officials in Brussels about trying to make the process simpler for smaller organizations. And we've been doing a bit of that as we've gone through the project. And as I say, the other part was obviously how can we contribute and how we can learn from the other partners in this project. And it's due to run until, June 2027. And so far, it's been very, very informative. And as I say, working with PREPARE and AIDL and the University of Pisa and the other partners has been a very, very worthwhile exercise. But obviously, it does demand a lot of administration and a lot of accountability and time. So that's why we are here today. It's part of our commitment alongside PREPARE to provide this overview of how these local maps are delivering and what lessons can be learned and what needs to be done at a European level in terms of policy making to make what turns out to be good projects available to other regions and other areas. So it's our job to be fairly, I suppose, clinical in how we look at these projects and not to just sort of tick off everyone as being complete successes or worse still, as complete failures. Presumably, we will have to be, as I say, a little bit at arm's length and then be able to endorse what we think would be applicable and would be of great value out further across the EU and beyond that. So that's what we're here to do. And I think it's extremely important that we work in partnership with these projects and to make sure that they are hopefully the success that the originals of this project were hoping for them to be. So that's my very, very brief introduction. I have to apologize that I'm struggling with a back pain today, and every day at the moment. So Kim has very kindly and properly agreed to take over the chair for much of this meeting, and then Kim and Vanessa will provide the concluding remarks for this joint project at the end. So I'll hand over now to Kim. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Tom, for these nice welcoming words. So we'll share this meeting, and the first short presentation of PREPARE. So PREPARE is a pan-European rural movements organizations. We have the 20 members and 2 associate members covering pan-European organizations, but also national rural movements. We have been working with the local level with part of tools like the gathering and the traveling workshops that combine civil society, politician decision makers, and local actors in order to try to develop the rural development movements countries. We are also being very happy to be able to also be giving birth or create some rural movements in eastern part of Europe. Already mentioned quite many of the things, but the roles that PREPARE and ERCA have here in this FUTURAL are maybe to bring also what the very local level, the citizens, the NGOs, the local actors, maybe the small enterprises, maybe the small farms, maybe the social side could bring also to the innovations and the smart solutions that FUTURAL is working on. And as to the activities, as Tom said, we are part of the capacity building, capacity development journey and the portfolios of the multi-actor pilots. And then we are also working with the policy part together with the IODEL and in the events. In the big picture, monitoring, supporting, evaluating, and supporting all the team. So with this short introduction from my side, we can start the webinar itself, and we start with Serafin Pastos Vidal from IODEL will make his presentation now. So the floor is yours, Serafin.
Thank you, Kim, and thank you, Tom. And hope, Tom, you get better. I'm also glad to be speaking, I think, without much trouble from my village, as I am spending the week in my village in Galicia, not in Brussels, where I'm based. And that's one of the great things of the connectivity, that I can spend significant of my time in my family farm. So I'm glad that it's working. Sometimes it doesn't, so that's why sometimes it's a miracle when it does. I should also say, for starts, that I'm speaking here on behalf of the whole FUTURAL project, but most particularly Ari Loomis and Professor Spyros Fountas from the Agricultural University of Athens, who are the coordinators. But because they don't have this the sense of ubiquity and prior commitments and they're very different time zones, it was suggested that I could do a bit of an introduction of the project. I will be rather general and brief, because I think the purpose of this is to encourage members of ERCA and PREPARE to engage with the project and the project results. So I will leave more technical explanations to Carlo and Carla, both similar names and similar nationality, different organizations, ADL and UNIP, to provide more technical discussion in addition to the colleague from the Living Lab. So this is just a very general introduction. And I also hope to explain not just the what, but why, what for, and why we do this. And I think more importantly, coming back to Tom's commentary at the beginning, why organizations like ERCA and PREPARE should be involved in projects, pan-European projects like Horizon. And I hope the answer we'll get at the end of the meeting is because they should, because they are needed, because far too many discussions in Brussels and in institutions are far too technocratic and fail to understand where people lives and their conditions. And therefore, that's something that does add value, and there is plenty of opportunities for members of ERCA and PREPARE working with the boards of the organizations and the secretariats to engage and help them contribute to the projects, but vice versa, put in place some of the things that we are developing the project. Anyway, I'm going to share my screen, which hopefully it works. It seems to be working. So as I say, I will be very general and brief. and try to basically provide the highlights and help you understand why we're doing this and why it's good that members of ERCA and PREPARE engage as much as possible in the various activities that are open for their participation. I just the Futural and the coordinator, but the ADL, it's important to frame my comments on the basis that we are a pan-European NGO. We work in a number of projects, horizon projects on rural and territorial developments. Futural is one of them. Sometimes, as the leadership of ERCA and PREPARE knows, only last week we had a session uh, across various projects because it is good to develop partnerships rather than creating silos. And we do that as much as it is reasonable and possible and adds value across various projects and organizations. And we had an active discussion last week on the future of the EU budget for local development. And only yesterday evening, ERCA and PREPARE on the one hand, and then Futural Project with the other projects have sent submissions to the Commission on their expectations on the future of the EU budget. And I will cover a bit on that at the end as a nice transition to the presentation of Carla. Anyway, coming back to the project is already getting to the middle of the project. It's a 4-year project, starting in June 2023. Lovely timing we had in Athens, so of course, great hospitality there as always. The project is empowering the future through innovative and smart solution for rural areas, Futural. As always with the Horizon Project, a bit cheesy names, but essentially is to identify solutions that can improve the livelihoods and the capacities at local level in rural areas. And the interaction between the social and the technological, so to speak. There's a number of other projects, which I showed quickly at the beginning, that are also working on that we are also involved, but they have different emphasis. And this one involves a number of organizations from a lot of countries. As you can see, perhaps Belgium is overrepresented, but that's not true. I mean, the only proper representative from Belgium is West Vlaanderen. PREPARE, ADL, or Lisbon Council are pan-European organizations. So it just leaves me to say that there's a combination between local partners, pan-European partners, academic partners like University of Pisa, technical partners like Refrain Food, for instance, and then Living Lab, like local case studies partners like Duran Galdea in Spain, or R21 in Lithuania, or Pongau in Romania. So that's a combination between the policy, NGO, voluntary, public, private, voluntary sector, and so on. And that's the value of the project, or this significant representative in terms of sectors and geographical and socio-economical spread. 21 partners for 10 countries. So it's a rather relatively big project given the relatively small size of budget. So in essence, the Project Futural aims to prototype, test, and pilot community-led social, technological, and business innovations in various areas, the various pilots that I mentioned earlier. It's interesting to the focus. It's community-led, it's social, technological, and business. I mean, this is perhaps the added value of Futural compared to others. I mean, there are some projects that are more technological. There are other projects also from this family of sister projects that Futural is part of that are more social. Futural has the advantage or the distinctive of trying to find a bit of a balance between all these different aspects. The output of that will be developing smart solutions that can be replicable, that actually are informed by the solutions and technological tools that are being developed elsewhere in the EU, in other projects, in other organizations, but trying to make them test them and make them test them locally and make them replicable. So the cool thing is, the idea is to make the project not an end in itself, but actually a vehicle for testing and developing solutions, smart solutions that can actually be of use for instance, the individual members of ERCA and PREPARE in their local context. I will spare you all this technological double, so I will not read you through all of this. I will just say that there is one end, which is community-led innovations. There is the smart solutions. There's a number of smart solutions that are being developed and tested. There are capacity building activities, the interactive part, which ERCA and PREPARE members can sometimes join. For instance, the URIF, which I will discuss later, as well as a number of workshops that we'll be carrying out. And then there are synergies with a number of other projects, because Futural aims to provide part of the answers, but Futural will not provide all the answers. So that's why it's important. Collaboration is important. And the idea is to make them results that are replicable and scalable. They are, in the case of policy recommendations, solutions. I think we will develop technical solutions. We'll try to then formulate policy recommendations we can introduce in funding programs and legislation for the benefit of the communities that you are coming from. That is, in a very general sense, all the many things that we are doing over the next 4 years. Now, if the computer allows, yes. So as you can see, this can be summarized into a bit of a shorter discussion, which is there are 6 multi-actor pilots, which are referenced there in Belgium, Austria, Lithuania, Romania, Greece, and Spain. There are 8 smart solutions that have been developed into 5 smart solution domains to address societal, environmental, and challenging rural communities. You will see them in a moment. That will be, because what happens sometimes in the past is that you develop great ideas and then it just stays there. So the idea is to actually have an integrated platform that anybody can use, and you don't have to be a scientist or a with kid to know how to operate, to actually identify these smart solutions and try to understand where they are relevant for you. One thing that we'll be doing is, in addition to the pilots that I mentioned earlier, there will be an open call that is open already, which will fund additional projects to develop digital smart solutions. So once we have the first, we have the core group of local pilots, so to speak, there is the opportunity for others to join, and that's an open call, which I will discuss in a second. And then there's the bit that we will, ADL is mostly involved with, which is the formulation of policy recommendations, governance frameworks. And we do that by essentially learning from more clever people that we have in this project, working on local case studies, technical solutions, but also engaging with other actors and institutions, for instance. And that we do that through a number of workshops and outputs. But I would like to obviously to highlight the EURIF, the EU Rural Innovation Forum, which is a kind of a body for the project, which it is developed in conjunction with the partners of the project, but also certainly ERCA and PREPARE, which are key partners there. And this has an in-person online segment that is open to anybody, including, again, ERCA and PREPARE members that are most welcome to join in person and online. I will cover that in a moment. Again, the idea is to do a combination between social, technological, and business innovations, and wherever possible, not to build from, not to pretend that things have never been invented, but actually build from solutions that already exist and trying to make them more relevant moving forward. What are the solutions, which is perhaps the important thing? Well, this covers 5 domains: circular economy, climate adaptation mitigation, resilience to shocks, citizen engagement, quality of life, and lifelong learning and education and training. And that's the very results that we want to achieve at the end. An online circular economy platform, an online platform for delivery of hydrological models, an online crowd-setting platform for infrastructure health monitoring, an online platform for rural and citizen engagement, and government action plans and policy co-creation, and various other tools that, again, sounds technical, but in reality they are essentially easy to use instruments that people can use online to learn from and utilize the solutions that I developed in the project. That will also include, this is, as you can see, a standard presentation, so it gets too technical, but essentially that is complemented with a meta search platform, which will help to put together all these different solutions. So actually people don't have to get lost or be super clever in actually utilizing that. The purpose of this platform is to help that. It's a one-stop shop platform to get all these digital solutions in the same place. These are the maps, which I mentioned earlier, and these are the organizations, they are local organizations that are testing the smart solutions. 2 smart solutions per area. They are running co-creation workshops. There's people from ERCA and PREPARE and definitely UNIP who are helping on that. We're also developing business innovations and it has a strong element of capacity building. And these are the various organizations that are participating. And then in addition to that, there is a even more open dimension, which is the URIF, the Rural Innovation Forum, which I mentioned earlier. It has 3 main editions, one in Spain, which is happening next week in the Basque Country, in Pongau and Lithuania next year and the year after. And this has 2 segments. For practically, we have like meeting open to anybody. We have a lot of people from various networks, rural networks from across Spain and Portugal and France, because of course they are nearby the Basque Country, it's next to Bilbao, in the north of Spain. But there's a second segment which is online, so include people that obviously cannot be in person. And we will have that will happen the week after, on the 21st of May, and which will be include quite a few decision makers and other partners that I think is going to be a good occasion for ERCA and PREPARE members to join us. This is something that perhaps was more interesting a few months. Now we are in the process of the open call already, but I mean, we got a lot of people calling us about the open call. This is not for a reason that, you know, this 10 projects of in the tune of 120,000 euros that can get financed. This has been done in a separate procedure, in a very strict procedure, and that provides an additional space for testing the solutions developed through the project and actually engage a wider set of people who are not original partners of the project being members of this open call. So in a way, they are sub-members of the project, like the large rim of partners that we will have at the end. And of course, you know, for some local organization, 120,000 euros is not a small amount of money. So there's been a lot of interest in this call, as you can imagine. And then there will be, as I say, scale up and business models, policy recommendation, governance frameworks, which is basically the very end of the project, to make them actionable and scalable well beyond the life of the project. Let me finish very quickly, and that will be a nice transition to Carla's discussion, but also displaying why all this tech talk that I just mentioned earlier. Well, because we are once again discussing the future of Europe. We have like quite a few intense years in the past, and I'm afraid the pace has not changed apart from global conflicts and instability. There's a question about what the EU is for. That is, as I say, as of today, the end of the deadline for a consultation on the future of the EU budget, and therefore what should be the place of local-based policies there, which ERCA, PREPARE, and FUTURAL have responded hours ago. But it's a wider discussion. For instance, the Letta report, which was a major report in Brussels by the former Italian Prime Minister, considers the right to stay and whether EU policies should help the right to stay, in the ability of people to stay where they are, and that includes smart solutions and also other forms of support. So this is something that is, you know, this thing I discussed earlier about smart solutions looks theoretical, looks abstract, but actually no, this is in the center of whether the public sector, the policy governance frameworks should actually support the freedom of people to choose where they want to live, but also the right for them to stay where they belong, which is, if you're a member of ERCA and PREPARE, something close to your heart. And at the same time, something that is both in terms of, it's both under threat and has a great potential. This is for people like us, where we structure our life, because one life is the life of the project, and the other is what's happening. And what's happening at the moment is that the future of the EU budget and the EU programs are being developed as we speak, presented in July, and then in October, the details of the funds for post-2027 and that we follow for a couple of years of negotiations, which this project and your contribution through the project will be instrumental, because this project will be live precisely when decisions are being made. So we are not engaging, the FUTURAL is not engaging by producing results in month 48, like the fourth year of the project. We are engaging throughout, and that includes active engagement in open discussions with policymakers. Because, as I said at the beginning, we are in a moment of political instability, geopolitical tensions. We have, on the one hand, less money to go around. Even the principle of local development has been put in question, and the statement of ERCA and PREPARE submitted yesterday makes a strong case against that negative perception. But on the other hand, we have those need to be more bold in terms of promoting certain initiatives than it was before. It also promoting more interoperability of services and the access of services in a widespread fashion, and support smart solutions like precisely the focus on FUTURAL. So let's say that the picture is still quite mixed. We have serious threats about the future of EU support for local development, but at the same time, there's a scope for actually that support to be smarter, if I might borrow the word, than it is the case at the moment. If you are, after today's meeting, interested in having a discussion with policymakers, and you could be next week in the Basque Country Aldea in next to Bilbao, you're most welcome to join us on the policy seminar that complements the physical part of the EU RIF, which is happening on 21st of May, online, open to everybody. We'll put the link in the chat. And we will have a number of EU decision makers commenting and discussing with us the state of play and the future of EU support for rural areas. And with that, nicely transition to Carla for a more detailed discussion on policy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Serafin, for this overview of what FUTURAL is and all the activities, and also the overall geopolitical situation that affects rural areas in Europe, and all the things that we do and you do and we all do in FUTURAL are important for local areas, local territories. Smart solution innovations are very, very important, and as they are important, it's very important that also policies support these actions, activities that we wish to be happening in our rural areas and territories, innovations, digital capacities, smart solutions, and so on. So with these words, so I will pass the word to Carla Lostrangio from IUDL to present the policy part of FUTURAL. The floor is yours, Carla.
Thanks, Kim, for the introduction, and thanks all for being here. Indeed, discovering about the FUTURAL projects. Indeed, I work for the European Association for Innovation and Local Development, and we worked particularly on a bunch of work and research on policy and governance, and exactly how policies they do create enabling condition for rural innovation to happen, to what extent they support community-led innovation. We all know indeed the leader approach, which is one of the most successful and most known at a local level, but also how do other sectoral policies, they do support community-led innovation, in so how and when and under what condition. And also we looked at governance mechanisms, so which are very relevant on how decisions are taken, how policies are implemented, and how also local voices are taken back in order to improve the state of policies. So this is what we did, and this is the bunch of work that we are currently performing over the next few years. So I'm gonna share my presentation to present some early results from this work. Just a moment. And yeah, I think here it is. So our work consists of three main axes. Right now we are on the first axis, which is reviewing the existing policy and governance mechanism, which deal with digital, social, community-led innovation in rural areas. So how do current policies and governance framework, they do in fact support such community-led innovations. So innovation which are at the core of which are led by rural actors, rural networks, community themselves, and so on and so forth. And then on those bases, we'll frame together with the other futural partners recommendation for policymakers, which are quite relevant, as Serafin was showing, because the policy cycle is happening at this moment, and we are defining the future of European policies and European budget, which of course do have cascade effect on rural development itself across member states. And one of the final output of our work is going to be a policy toolkit in order to adopt smart solution in rural areas. So something more practical and of use as well. I think Serafin has already introduced a little bit the policy landscape in which we operate, which is quite changing and changing fast. So a number of reports were issued, and those reports are relevant because they change the perception of what Europe should become in the future. And we see this shift towards competitiveness and innovation, which become the new motto, the new words. And what is the space of rural communities within this new motto of competitiveness and innovation? I believe that we have to find this space, and we have to argue that local communities, they do have a space themselves. And also main changes over these last months have been a new European Parliament, a new European Commission, a new Committee of the Regions mandate. So we see actors, institutional actors being shifting and also changing the way also they reply or they shape those priorities as well. And a third important change, of course, is the ongoing negotiation on the new multi-financial framework, meaning on the new European budget and European policies, which has started with this consultation, which was launched and is about to be closed, but they are going to continue with the first proposal of the European Commission on the next multi-financial framework, and therefore on with the trilogues, which are basically discussion on what shape those policies should be taking on, and is going to be lasting for the next 2 years, and within which we should engage. So within this overall picture, what we are doing in the FUTURAL Project indeed is about looking at those priorities and looking at existing policies and try to understand in which ways they do support community-led innovation in rural areas, to what extent and under which mechanism, under which funding programs, which initiatives are funded, and so on and so forth. And also looking at how new strategies and new programs are likely to shape and eventually change this type of support, whether increased, whether decreased, whether being neutral, whether we can push for some certain action in order to be more beneficial towards rural innovation itself. So this is a bit of the analytical work that we are performing, but there is also a lot of work that we do into try to communicate what we do, what we find out, and discuss with ERCA, PREPARE, for instance, and other future partners, but also opening it up through a wider discussion, as the webinar that Serafin was discussing and mentioning just earlier on. And within this framework, we do engage a lot within the policy process itself at European level, because we do work mainly at European level. But we believe that it's very important that organizations themselves, they do engage at a national and regional level, and as well as a European level, as many of those public consultations, they can be answered to any organization at any level. So these are a few examples of consultation we engage with, for instance, on the future of the European budget, but also on the revision of public procurement directives, the European startup and scale-up strategy. So there are many policy files which are currently under development, legislative or no legislative policy files, which are very, very relevant. And so the bunch of work that we are about to conclude at this moment is an analysis of existing European policies and governance mechanisms and how, to what extent they support community-led innovation in rural areas. So this consists, so far, basically, we have analyzed about 100 in between policies and governance mechanisms. And this includes, aside policies, also funding instruments and the governance frameworks themselves at European level. But also we performed more in-depth analysis within 6 countries, which are the 6 countries of the FUTURAL projects. And we engage with different stakeholders in view, together with representative from the FUTURAL countries, ERCA, PREPARE, as well. The report itself is not been published yet, so it's going to be finalized by May 31st. It's going to be further presented and then being public. So you're going to be able to find it through the FUTURAL website, as well as I'm sure ERCA and PREPARE are going to be sharing these. But I would like to already provide some early findings on our work and why basically this should be indeed relevant to you. So as said, we performed first level analysis at European level on existing policies. And we could map about 40 or over 40 policies and instruments which are interesting and relevant for community-led innovation in rural areas. This include also funding instruments. And we looked at how they do support digital innovation, social innovation, or whether they focus specifically on community-led innovation or rural development. So this perhaps provides the most comprehensive mapping of policies and the link to community-led innovation. We also looked at specifically whether they provide support, political support, economic or financial support, whether they finance technical or capacity building activities, for instance. And also we looked exactly at European level, what is in department within the European Commission, which deals with all of those programs. Why is that relevant? Because most often we refer to DG Agri and DG Regio when thinking about rural development, but there is wider support or wider linkages that we should develop within other DGs, such as DGs Growth, DG ICT, DG dealing with social employment, for instance. So there is way more to do. And is also something that we try to do further on by mapping existing governance mechanisms, working groups, with whom rural networks themselves could further engage in order to shape policies dealing with rural innovation and advocate further on community-led innovation to be really supporting true policies. So this is going to be further explained in the report as it's going to be out. And the second level we performed is more in-depth analysis within the 6 FUTURAL countries that you see here at the top, meaning Austria, Belgium, Greece, Lithuania, Romania, and Spain. And we looked more specifically, how rural innovation and community-led innovation receive supports under the CAP strategic plans, under forms of smart villages, which is these new instruments, which is included within the CAP regulatory text and the cohesion policy. So therefore also on how cohesion policy operational programs, they support rural innovation, under what condition and in which ways. And then more specifically, we looked to a certain extent at national policies and some best practices existing at country level. So this is also an interesting piece of inspirations, but also provides quite a wide overview of sometimes how KPIs, so performance indicators or actual ways of supporting renovation differ really broadly across member states at European Union level. And when it comes to a few takeaways on policies and key messages perhaps to bring forward is that at European level, there is quite sort of a multi-level policy landscape. Rural innovation is influenced by policies, in particular the CAP and the cohesion policy at European level, but member states have very much to say when it comes to several sectoral policies where they have a full competence or shared competence. And full competence, we think about education industry, which indeed are very, very relevant ones. Second key message is that the cohesion policy has really a significant role. So contrary to general perception, cohesion policy allocates more funds to rural development than the CAP Pillar 2. However, when we look in specifically on cohesion and CAP financing to community-led initiatives, LEADER is financing far more than, so LEADER under CAP is financing far more than CLD in cohesion policy. And this is basically because there is not defined earmarking for CLLD in cohesion policy when it comes to rural development. LEADER is certainly highly valued for community-led development. We see a lot of beneficial effects and positive impacts, but we have to face reality in terms of existing challenges when it comes to territorial coverage. So LEADER does not happen everywhere. Limitation in terms of funding, administrative burdens, which indeed are most known. Smart Villages as a new instrument is fully targeted to support community-led innovation, both through the means of the CAP and the cohesion policy. But so far, we see quite of a limited uptake and budgetary allocation, very few KPIs in terms of results to be achieved. So we advocate to be further used in the upcoming programming periods. And then, at a national level, there are very few strategies, if not known, targeting community-led innovation in rural areas. But there are wider and broader strategies for digital, social innovation or rural development policies. And the last point is on policy misalignment, so that rural development policy is often quite poorly integrated within other sectoral policies, such as industrial or innovation policies, both at European and national levels. And this is something that many stakeholders with whom we hold interviews, they were indeed complaining. But this was also confirmed by a general analysis. And a few takeaways on governance is that European governance mechanisms exist and they are supportive both to community-led innovation but also to rural development. And this is enshrined by the European funding treaties with Article 174 and 75, for instance, that they do request for special attention to rural areas, sparsely populated areas, mountain areas, so on and so forth. But they also foresee or ask European unions to foresee specific means and economic resources to deal with that. Countries, they do different a lot when it comes to support for community-led innovation. But some main factors, they do seriously affect these, which are the level of state centralization, the governance structures and the historical partners of how governance structures have been evolved so far. So for instance, interaction with no state actors and other actors, but also the level of financial autonomies by local governments. Many local governments really suffer from few financial resources and heavy tax transfers from central governance, which affects, in fact, the capability to finance or support community-led initiatives themselves. Which links indeed to the point that local governments are very, very crucial, but often constrained. And no state actors are also very, very crucial into that. But main challenge is that the under-resourced, so lack of financial resources and sometimes lack of technical capabilities, time is also a crucial factor, which is always challenging. And from this first analysis, we try to put forward a few early recommendations. So these recommendations, they come up from our analysis, from the views of stakeholders, which were consulted so far, but they have yet to be discussed internally. This is going to be happening at the European Rural Innovation Forum next week and further on also at the policy webinar. I'm going therefore quickly across that and happy to hear back from your side as well. First of all, we need for a more formal recognition of the transformative role of community-led innovation at European level. Also, the mainstreaming political and financial support to community-led innovation through 8% mandatory earmarking, which has been called, which is strongly called by several actors, but also territory-proof all European policies. Apply the do not harm to European cohesion across all policies which are territorially relevant, meaning that policies with a territorial impact should not harm basically the territorial cohesion of the European Union. Align rural development with sectoral policies, as we were saying, on industrial policies, innovation policies, and reinforce existing governance mechanisms, do not create new ones. Shift the focus on rural innovation ecosystem rather than individual smart solution, but strengthen the real innovation ecosystem. Allow regulatory flexibility for innovation to happen soon and now, as we see often existing regulatory framework, they are not flexible enough in order to allow innovation public procurement to happen, or they are not completely fit indeed to communities' way of proceeding, for instance. Enhance digital skills and infrastructures, as we said, is very, very important. This step and is likely to happen anyhow, but therefore the strong point is to be to hold caution on marginalized communities and community which might be feeling or be actually excluded from this shift to the digital transition. And then last point is to systematize the inclusion of local voices behind token approaches, being both civil sector as itself or local authorities. And with this, that's all from my side. And I give the floor back to Kim.
Thank you, Carla, so much. I took just a few key words from your presentation that in my head and my eyes look to be very close to our local actors in PREPARE and ERCA. The flexibility in the regulations, maybe some earmarking procedures, the skills as the smart solution, digitalization, and increasing somehow the voice of our rural people, and the decentralization thing, that if we get more decentralized models, maybe that could be helpful for us, for the local actors. We pass to the next presenter, and as we know, from you. Mickey, do you want to ask now?
Yeah, if I just can reflect to the Carla and also Serafin presentation,
we were thinking to have the three presentations and then have the overall kind of.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
If it's possible. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, thank you. So now we jump over to the digital journey, the capacity building, the co-creation things, and as we know from Eurostat rural areas are somewhat running behind in digital, maybe skills and coverage altogether. Not too much, but still running after. So we need to do maybe something about that, and I think FUTURAL is trying to do those things, and maybe Carlo Guia from University of Pisa can tell us more about what the FUTURAL project is doing about the digital capacities, the learning, the capacity development, and co-creation issues. Carlo, the floor is yours.
Okay, I'm doing a little bit a mess with Zoom, but I'm on my way. I'm trying to present. Okay. Okay, you should be able to station.
Yeah.
Can you see? Okay. Yeah, good morning, everyone. So briefly, a short introduction. I'm Carlo Giu. I'm a research fellow at University of Pisa, and specifically University of Pisa is involved in several projects regarding, let's say, innovation, digital innovation in rural areas. What concerns FUTURAL Project, we are the leader of the work package 2, which is with regards community-led innovation and capacity building. So basically, we will see in few slides what is this work package about. So this presentation is rather descriptive in the sense that after my presentation, there will be then Jan Leiker from the Westwick Map that will say a little bit more about the activities and probably also some preliminary reflections from all this process of community led. I will try just to say what are the activities that are run in work package 2. What is this community-led innovation in terms of activities that are performed? What are the maps and what they do, what they are supposed to do? And then a little bit of focus of what we have been doing in terms of tasks where these work package is divided with some really concrete results in terms of what we organized and did. And then I just reported some points regarding what we observed when this process of co-creation, especially co-creation, was run. So just some reflections also as a food for thought for probably, if there is time, some reflection later. So as you can see from this paired chart, so that outlines how the different packages of the FUTURAL project are intertwined, this work package is at the center. This says that in the design of the FUTURAL project, how the multi-local, the multi-actor pilots worked in the territories should be at the center of what of all the other activities that that are carried out in the FUTURAL project. So as we will see, we start from the needs. At least in the design of the initial design of FUTURAL project, we start from the needs of the local communities, and then all the other work packages that are about the delivery of the smart solution, the development of this meta search platform that should collect all the innovations around, the building of the ecosystem and the management of the occupant calls, and so on, should have at the center the activities of the multi-actor pilots. But what are the aims of the work package 2, the objectives? So establish and implement a participatory strategy for the setup, monitoring, and evaluation of the multi-actor pilots and these co-creation activities that, as Serafin outlined already, should be concerned with social, technological, and business innovations. These are the specific objectives of this work package. So first of all, to identify and activate the maps, then engage stakeholders in this process of co-creation innovation, monitoring and evaluation of the map activities, and there are also some, the last points regard the capacity building activities and also the coordination implementation of the as a way to collect feedbacks and also return what we are what we understand from all this process through the maps. Okay, in this slide instead there is a little bit of more focus on what are the maps and who are the maps. So maps, multi-actor pilots, as I think Serafin said before. These multi-actor platforms are really close to what is a living lab. This is the definition that is given by the ANOL, that is the main organizations that deals with living lab at the European level, that describe is that ecosystems, this concept that is taken from the natural science, but ecosystems of open innovation in real life environments using iterative feedback processes. This is important because this concept of iterative process of innovation will come back in how the activities with this community-led innovation has been designed. But then there is a focus regarding the pilot, because pilot is a concept that is taken especially from the innovation environment, let's say, especially related to the startup talking. But pilot, what is a pilot? Is an initial small-scale implementation that is used to prove the viability of a project or idea. So it's a very local experiment lab. We can think about that in this way. That is used to test an idea that have the initial requirement to be tested. So we don't wait to arrive to the final product in general, to the final innovation, but we, in the pilot we try to test innovation as soon as possible, let's say. On the right hand side, we see the different maps. We, in a few minutes, we will see in particular the Belgium map, the Westhoek map. Every map has a map leader, so an organizations that leads the activities on a local level and organizes also these activities. As you can see, all the maps in FUTURAL Project have different contextual characteristics. We have mountainous places. We have places that are like flat surfaces that are, let's say, that have a more agricultural based activities. We have islands that instead also in terms of local economy are more related to tourism and so on. But here the important thing that I want to highlight is that every map is focusing on specific local challenges that have been associated to specific digital solutions in this sense. And I think Westhoek Map will report this with more details later. Okay, going really a little bit more quickly, what are the community-led innovations in the work package 2? We talk about the co-creation activities and capacity building activities. Co-creation, this is a definition taken by Vorberg et al. It relates to the active engagement of stakeholders who all different types of knowledge and resources with the aim to generate collaborative outcomes that in our case are these smart solutions. Capacity building instead is OECD defines it as more properly as capacity development, and is a process where people, organization, and society strengthen, create, adapt, and maintain capacity over time. In the case of a FUTURAL project, we focus on developing capacities, especially digital competencies, to realize the potential of the smart solutions, to make the best use of these smart solutions. This is just a really brief picture that outlines how this iterative feedback process is organized. So starting from the left, maps have been identified already during the project proposal. In the first phase, we start from collecting what are the innovation needs of the local the local society, the multi-actor pilots, let's say the local context is, and then it starts this process of iterative feedbacks that that are organized in 4 different phases that we will see later. So the smart solutions, the first version of the smart solution, a minimum viable product, is created, is tested. In the meanwhile, the capacities to use these different the evolving versions of the smart solutions are developed in the capacity building activities that you see at the bottom of the slides. And in the middle of these interactive feedbacks, the EURIF events are designed also to share what has been learned during this process, but also what has been co-created in terms of digital solutions. Okay, really quickly, these are the 4 phases of the co-creation process. And I won't read all the 4, but these 4 descriptions. But I would like just to highlight what are the differences between these 4 phases. It's an evolving process. The first phase is the prototype. The definition is an early version of a product or a service, and the concrete result of this phase is this minimum viable product. So basically, is in our case, it will be a smart solution that has the minimum characteristics that we need to be tested. So it's really a super early version, but that is tested in order to have the first feedbacks, in this case from, in order to understand what are the features that can be maintained, what are the features that can be evolved, what are the features that the local community doesn't want. The testing phase, the second one instead, is the implementation, is a test in a controlled environment. So the minimum viable product evolved is tested by the map community, but like in a lab, in a sense, that is the living lab indeed. Then there is the third phase, is the pilot, which instead is the test of in our case, a smart solution that have already some features that have been tested and confirmed, that is tested in a population, so not in a closed controlled environment, but again in a real life context. And then the first phase, the fourth phase, the final phase, is the demonstration of these of the what is called the beta version of the smart solution. So the solutions that will be in their final version. This instead is the design of the second type of community-led innovation, which is this capacity building, as a outcome of the we designed this capacity building process. We divided in 4 different phases. I don't have too much time here to go in depth in all these phases, but the logic is to go from the phase 1, when we ask the communities within the multi-actor pilots what they need in terms of digital competences to deal with the smart solution, and then starting from these needs, we design the training material, let's say, in the training activities. We deliver them, and then we assess what has been learned in a specific way. In our case, we will collect all these learning journey in some digital portfolios that will be reported and peer evaluated among maps during the third phases. So basically in 2027. This is just how the work package 2 is organized. Is organized in 4 different tasks. And to be clear here, among all these schemes, the task 2.1 and it was about the activation of the multi-actor pilots. We are in the middle of task 2.2 and 2.3. Basically, all the activities I described are carried out in the task 2.2, which is about implementation, management, and evaluation of the MAP activities. The task 2.3 instead focuses on the creation of the guidelines and the material to feed the capacity building, and then there is one specific task about the organization of the future EURIF events. I will spend 2 words at the end of the presentation. Okay, quickly. I wanted just to share with you what have been the activities that have been carried out so far. And as I said already, in the task 2.1, we activated basically the multi-actor pilots. We shared some guidelines with the maps to engage these stakeholders, to basically map stakeholders, engage them. And we, let's say, wrote down the methodologies to manage all these process of co-creation. The key results has been basically a document that describes what is the initial context of the multi-actor pilots and also a deliverable. Yeah, are just some pictures that I wanted to share with you to basically describe these first, let's say, step. So we started from these 6 different multi-actor pilots, and we started from a description of the local context, but also of all the stakeholders around the key challenges of the multi-actor pilots have been mapped and categorized. This is an example of from one map that I think is the Westhoek map. So the Westhoek map will say something later more specifically, that has some challenges regarding aging population and water shortage, and we interviewed some local actors to identify what could be the actors related to these challenges. Then we enter in the middle of the co-creation and capacity building activities. So far, we concluded the first phase of the co-creation workshops, where all the map leaders asked basically the local map community to identify their innovation needs and the technology related requirements. Basically, on the right hand side, you see one of the trainings that we did with the map leaders. Using a template, we asked the map leaders to collect what were the features of the smart solutions that the local community must have, could have, didn't want to have so far. And basically, this was the initial feedbacks that went from the maps were transferred to the smart solution providers to evolve, to create the first prototype. This is an example of this workshop organized in Kitira. For what concerns capacity building, it was this phase was concluded the end of last year, and we did more or less the same regarding what are the learning, the training inputs, so the information that we needed to design the capacity building activities. In the first phase, so the map leaders presented the program we designed, and they identified target groups and learning needs for the definition of the training modules. So these are some key results. So we organized these co-creation workshops, and we started to these interviews, 6 interviews, to start mapping what use the rural innovation ecosystems. We are in this sense, we are preparing some material to start to describe local rural innovation ecosystem, starting from these interviews and the action plans, the basically documents that every map has to prepare and report every year. I would like just to because yeah, it's already late. I would like just to stop here from these 4 points that come out from some reflections that we had to prepare also from the first evaluation, the evaluation of from the European Commission for the first evaluation period. And these are some these are some, say, challenging aspects regarding all this community-led innovation process that, to me, say something on also how innovation processes can can be designed and carried out at local rural level. So we had some of the challenges to focus on have been identified from already during the. And in the first period of the project, there was a really needed process of adjustments of the initial ideas that sometimes have been co-defined from the local community, but also from the solution providers. These initial ideas had to be adjusted to the real needs of the community. Some changes were required, and some change have been made as a result of the first phase of feedbacks. But sometimes instead the project itself could be kind of rigid. So this is an aspect of adjustment, identification of what are the real needs of the local community, and adjustment of the solutions to the real needs of the local community. That is a key aspect to monitor and also to listen, let's say, and also to adjust the activities on the base of what comes out from this process. Communication, the second one, communication monitoring of some maps have been sometimes challenges. And this says also that this sequence of community-led innovation activities can be challenging and complicated to follow. And this also refers somehow to, in a sense, to make things easy to working with rural society, especially when it comes to complicated innovations as digital innovations. What Carla also highlighted, we observed already in this first phase of capacity building, the digital readiness when it comes to digital competences of rural areas is quite different. So the training modules will need to consider these differences in starting level of competence when the digital training modules are designed. And the fourth point is very key and important. We are reviewing the action plans for the first phase. We observed that sometimes it's not spontaneous, let's say, that technology providers in the design of the solutions align to what maps have been asked. There is the tendency to be, let's say, technology pushed, even though the design of the community-led innovation is made especially to avoid this linear process of innovations. So this is an aspect to be really monitored. Even though as you can see, the process of community-led innovation is already well structured, but the iterative feedback process would need probably also to review the detailed structured process divided in phases, because it is the definition of the iterative process also to change and to come back to initial identification of needs and so on. Yeah, this is really to conclude the last part of the work package 2 is regards the review event that has been discussed already by Serafina and Carla. This two-day event to lay the foundation to showcase rural innovation and so on. Again, I reported the event for the outline of the event, 14 and 15 May. In this, just to highlight that in this occasion, the maps will design their capacity building modules. It is the second phase of our capacity building program will be concentrated in this URIF event. There will be also the occasion to share what we have been doing in terms of smart solutions, but also reflect, as Carla was saying before, on the preliminary insights regarding the policies. The next steps, really briefly, just to highlight that we are in the middle of the second round of co-creation workshop, so to test the alpha version of the smart solution, and to design the capacity building workshop at the URIF event. This is the second phase, that is the next step. The update of the MAX action plan, the document where the maps report what PM doing and plan what they will do. And in Bucharest, there will be in June the second annual knowledge sharing meeting, when within the FUTURAL project we reflect on how all this process has been doing. This was the last slides. Sorry, I think I took a little bit longer. I stopped the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Carlo, for the presentation. Here again, I took the interesting part of the processes, in fact, in capacity building process and co-creation process, leading to what we learn from these processes and how that could be transferred into those two training modules and to targeted kind of interest groups in our rural areas. But because we are a little bit running late, I think we have to go to the next presentation, and we go to the really grassroots level, the field level, the multi-actor pilot level, and see how maps work and how they feel about the map work in FUTURAL Project. So I would give the word now to Jan Leicher from Westhoek Map. Alsjeblieft, Jan.
Hello, everybody. Carlo, you don't have a presentation of the digital journey
portfolio?
Yes, because I only knew this morning I have to say some words about our journey, and I'm not familiar with Zoom, so I already can say my digital competences are not so great. So there's still a lot of work. Maybe I can start a little bit with introducing myself and my organization.
In the meanwhile, I can send you the link, Carlo. We have it on PowerPoint, the Westec digital portfolio.
Okay.
Yes, Brigida, if you have it available, it could be.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I work for the province of West Flanders. In Belgium, we have 10 provinces. It are sort of regional governments. They are elected. So I work in Flanders. We have 5 provinces. Our headquarters are in Bruges, but I work for the regional office in the rural region of the Westhoek. The rural region of the Westhoek is situated in, of course, in the west. It's bordering France and the North Sea. It's covering 17 municipalities and 200,000 inhabitants. We have some major municipalities, but also very small municipalities. The capacity of the municipalities is rather small, so that's an issue. We are the most rural region in Flanders. And what's typical, we are a region of agriculture. We have a very intensive agriculture sector. We have millions of pigs, poultry. We have an intensive land use, potatoes, vegetables, mice, and etc. And also a very important agro-business complex. Some of the largest potato factories are located in the Westhoek.
Jan, if you want, I have the presentation ready.
Okay, you can share it. I don't do the whole presentation, I think, but we can focus on some issues. How much time is there available? I don't know.
In principle, it should be 10 minutes, but Kim, you tell me how we are doing with the agenda.
Oh, we could maybe do so that we have this 10 minutes to 15 minutes, then we combine the discussion, question and answer session at the end. So please, Jan, you can go on.
Yes. What was I saying? Agricultural sector, small business, not big industry. The region is very touristic and is becoming more and more touristic. We have an important focus is the remembrance of the World War I and all the heritage around it. So we also are recognized by UNESCO, some monuments and things. So tourism is also important. We have no universities, etc. So we see a brain drain. A lot of organizations struggle with finding staff, education, health, but also agriculture, industry. So that's certainly an issue. And we have a brain drain, we have an aging population. So that are some issues in our region. What are the...
Sorry, Jan, you tell me if I have to switch the slides,
Yes,
because
yes.
I think the challenges are...
Yes, and maybe you... Well, I'll tell something about the challenges. You can go further, I think. Yes. What are the key challenges? Yes, the Westhoek, also climate change is a big issue here. It's causing more and more extreme weather conditions in the Westhoek. Since 2015, we have several dry summers. In 2021 and certainly in 2023, we have massive floodings in the Westhoek. The last 2 months, we also already have a new record. It are the 2 driest months since the measurements. So yes, climate change is a very big issue because we need a lot of water for agriculture. But what's also important that we have 4 water production centers in the Westhoek. So the availability of water and the quality of water is very, very important for our region. And another, of course, is we see the amenities disappearing in all the small villages of the Westhoek in favor of regional offices and in favor of digital services. So certainly in the little villages with the aging population, for vulnerable groups, it's and also the public transport is poor developed, so it's a an issue, the accessibility of amenities.
Sorry.
Yeah, you can go. So in that way, the water issue, we work together. Water issue will be tackled to develop. So we have one big river. It's the IJzer, and the IJzer and Handsame Valley. It is one system. So the IJzer is a very important river for the Westhoek. And so EI Delft will develop an hydrological model, and this has to help us to detect or to say where and which nature-based solutions we can implement. And this model is developed with all sorts of data from groundwater, data for rainfall, and all sorts of other data. So it will help us in the end to determine which solution, nature-based solution, can be implemented. So it was a discussion that we did it in a co-creation session with EI Delft and the key stakeholders. Where should we develop this model? Should we do it in the IJzer Valley, Handsame Valley, and on which part we should do it? So we did it co-creatively with the key stakeholders to determine where we should build this hydrological model for the Handsame Valley. Okay, Carlo. Yes, the accessibility tool is so with DLR we will develop an online platform that measures accessibility. It will calculate the journey time to several amenities in the region of the West Hook. Yes, we can go further. Yes, what are some expected outcomes? But I think we have to go further, otherwise it will maybe take too long. Yeah, design process. You have to understand, and Carlo mentioned already, it's for us, for the province of West Flanders, but also for our region. The Horizon program and this sort of European project is it's quite an adventure. It was all new for us, so we have to take some time to know the service providers, to know the program, to know all the partners. So it takes some time. It was not so easy. The startup process was not so easy. We're also a big organization with several departments with 700 employees. So as region, we were part of the project, but our departments knew about the project, but were not involved at the beginning. So we have to involve them in the process, and that was not so easy. So we did a lot of internal talkings, meetings. We use some existing networks in the Westhoek to introduce FUTURAL. There's already happening a lot in the region, West Flanders and Flanders, so we have to map what is happening everywhere, so we could share it with the service providers. How do I say it? The smart solutions, how more data, how more good data is available, how better the smart solutions will work, and the accuracy and performance will be better. So that's also a very big thing. Communication, I must say we have a very good communication with all the technology providers. The collaboration is good, so we are lucky of that. So that works very well. And of course, we have to involve stakeholders of the Westhoek, but also outside the Westhoek, and therefore we organize co-creation workshop and capacity building workshops. Okay. Yes, you can go further. What are the main target groups? So, what about climate adaptation, the development of the hydrological model? So it focused on a part of the Westhoek, so 2 municipalities or 17 municipalities in the Westhoek, but the area focused on 2 municipalities, Diksmuide and Kortemark, and the responsible to manage the rivers and the water system is the responsible governments are the province of West Flanders and the Flemish government. So that are key stakeholders. Also, there is a water board, and of course, to implement nature-based solutions, it's important farmers and nature organizations are also involved. And research institute can help us to develop the hydrological model. The target group quality of life or the development of the accessibility platform. Of course, the province of West Flanders. So we see it's a much bigger population. So it's a whole area of the Westhoek who is involved, 17 municipalities of the Westhoek. The DVV Westhoek is a regional organization, a regional network of the 17 municipalities of the Westhoek. Public transport region Westhoek, all sorts of organizations who are active in the Westhoek, some civil society organizations. So that's a much more broader target group than the climate adaptation group. Yes. Yes, some pictures of our capacity building workshop of November, one in Yper and one in Diksmuide. You can go further. So, yeah, what the learning needs, let's see, there are not all mentioned on look them up. So the reflections we get on the capacity building workshop of our stakeholders, of course, it's community-led, it's co-creative, but the solution we did not choose. We get the solution, and we have to go. We have to this is already fixed. Is this solution? So we have to manage this solution to the stakeholders' needs. So that's not so easy. So what was important for the stakeholder group? What is the objective of the tool? Yeah, what are possibilities, but what are also limitations? So that there are clear expectations. So there are no wrong expectations what the tool can do and not can do. So that was very important for the stakeholder group to know, because I have to say, to develop a hydrological model, I attended several meetings and it's still difficult to understand it properly. So it's not so easy to understand. Of course, if they use the smart solution, people have to trust the smart solution. That's also very important, which is used methodology. You should think who is interested, but they want to know, when can I trust the results? How accurate are the results? Is it based on facts? Is it based on assumptions? So that's very important, that they have to trust the smart solution, and so we have to tell how it works and on what is it based. So that's also important. And of course, you have the development with the interface that will be available, the platform. How do you have to create the maps? How are you using the functionalities? How can you combine them, etc. So that's also a learning need. And because it's sometimes a little bit technical, and you get maps, but how will you read these maps? And it's important that you can draw the right conclusions out of generated maps, graphs, tables, etc. So we have to learn from how you use it, how can you use it, how can you read it, how can you interpret it. For the accessibility tool, in the capacity, no problem. In the capacity building workshop, it was something new. They say it's interesting. Some spatial planners say we can use it for spatial planning. So how can we adjust the tool for using in spatial planning, etc. And also, what's important, certainly after the project, yes, can we install these programs locally in municipalities, on local computer and local network, etc. And how can it work together with other geoinformatics software or etc. There was also some critics on the capacity building workshop of the hydrological model. There are built already several models, but they use all sorts of other climate scenarios or other interfaces. Can we adapt it to the Flemish portal or something? So that's not so easy, but that were some reflections from the capacity building workshop. Okay, you can go further. Yes, I think evidence participation. We try to involve as much as possible stakeholders. It's not, we don't use a fixed network, so we try to engage stakeholders and representative of stakeholders with different backgrounds and different capacities. So everyone can reflect with his knowledge to what is presented, of what is suggested. So that is not always an easy task, but I think the last two capacity building workshops were certainly a success on that. Okay. Yes, we organized. That was a capacity building workshop in Ypres with DLR. What's important that DLR was present was also important, and it's sometimes it's technical, digital. It's a certain language, but also what's an issue is the English language. So everything is in English. So the combination of the digital and the English language, it's not so easy. So for EPER, we had foreseen translators and interpreters, and that was a good thing because otherwise I think less people would engage them in the workshop. But it's not easy to do that every time because it comes with a cost. So, but that was very helpful to have a good capacity building workshop. Okay. Yes, that was the climate adaptation workshop. Yeah, we can go further. I think we can go this process evolution with introducing the project in the region to have some co-creation sessions with key stakeholders to try to enlarge the stakeholder group. What's something it's maybe difficult and no, I don't know how to solve it. I don't think you have to involve everyone at every time. I think it's important to involve the right people at the right time. And also I see we have co-creation session and capacity building working sessions, and you have the end users, the normal stakeholders who can formulate what are the needs, on what questions do the smart solution have to provide an answer. They can formulate that. But for the development of the smart solution, you need some stakeholders who know something about hydrology, because Delft can tell us everything and we say, oh yeah, it looks fine, yeah. But so happily we could last capacity we could engage some hydrologists. So we have another discussion. Oh, you use this model, but these are the weaknesses of this model you use. We could never say that we have no knowledge about. So you see, Delft has to know they can speak on the same level of the service provider. But the problem is that normal stakeholders who just work in the region and just want to use the end product are not interested in this discussion. So we have needed the two types of stakeholders. The stakeholders who know the region and who will use it, and the stakeholders who know something about the technology, the software, the models. So that's something we have, yeah. I don't know how we have to manage it, but that's something I've seen between last thing. We can go further. I think I said, yeah, go further.
Maybe 2 more minutes.
Yeah, maybe I will look. Oh, can go further, Carlo. Yes, I already said it's engaging stakeholders is not easy. You have to motivate them. It's a problem. We have a lot of stakeholders with not much capacity, not much of personnel, not much of time. And these are two smart solutions that are, that we think are policy instruments. They help to take decisions. It will not mean when we have these smart solutions tomorrow, accessibility will be better in the Westhoek, or drought and floods will be solved in the Westhoek. It's a long term. It's a solution that helps to have maybe impact on long term. And you see organizations with small capacity, they want to engage them for short-term solutions. What's in it for me? What is the immediate results? So that's something that's also not easy to manage. Yeah, I think it's one of the reflections. I will not can go further. Yes, I already said something. The balanced composition. local regional specialists who know the region, but also the specialists who know something about the smart solutions, etc. Because of the language barrier and because of the difficulty to understand some smart solutions, showing a demo, showing another example helps. Yeah, we had some issues about presenting, and so it's always difficult to how much time you have to foresee for all these things. Yeah. Yeah, that are some areas for improvement to organize co-creation workshop. There's a good agenda, quality of.
Sorry.
Yeah, nothing. It gives some dynamic to the presentation, Carlo. Quality of presentations. Also, yes, better alignment of workshop content with stakeholders' expectations. So that's always a difficult one. What they expect when you deliver. That's also something we have. Our indicators, we have our obligations to organize co-creation on what it's sometimes a puzzle to organize for the service provider to deliver on the right moment, for us to organize for stakeholders to be present. So it's sometimes a puzzle to organize all the things and to align everything to everyone's expectations. That's not easy. All right. Okay, I think we are there. I think.
But should we conclude, Kim? What do you think?
Yes, I think so. We can go for the questions, answers,
for the discussion. Okay, yeah, I think
there are and final conclusions. But by now, I just noted from Westhoek presentation that for the right place with the right people and the will and the right solutions when they're combined, we the right capacities are there. Then we have a good package, I would say. But I think we have to go now to the questions and answers and comment session. I think we have to start with Nikki that already has his hand after the second presentation. So Nikki, you had a comment or a question on the policy part, I guess.
Yeah, actually, thank you, Kim, and thank you for all the presenters. Actually, I wanted to reflect to the Carla presentation regarding the community-led innovation. It is excellent work that EDEL did in that area. I mean, not only now, but in the previous period. You are very well engaged in that. But what I really would like to somehow to connect those community-led innovation, let's say the mechanism or the principles with what European Royal Parliament is doing. So, but by having 1,000 members in the European Royal Parliament, I mean, having all the not official members, but members of the members and their members. So it is very, very wide network all around Europe that has many, as I said, almost 1,000 active local action groups and then civil society organization, grassroots organization. So it is a huge potential. And then what really I would like somehow to emphasize is that to use that European Royal Parliament mechanism for the further development of the community-led innovation. So I have in mind, and we discussed that briefly at the European Royal Parliament Steering Group. We didn't have so much time to go deeply in that, but it is obviously one of the way how we can let's say work in the future and also connect it with the future EU policy. So I have an idea that I would like to share with you. What do you think maybe those stakeholders which are involved in the FUTURAL project, I mean, EDEL, University of Pisa, European Royal Parliament, I mean, through ERCA and PREPARE, but also anyone else who is interested to join this initiative to try to develop some kind of the white paper to make it more formalized, because Carla, you mentioned about community-led innovation that is not somehow, that there is no formal recognition. So by developing that kind of the white paper with significant inputs from the European Royal Parliament, maybe we can develop some kind of the, let's say, formal framework for that community-led innovation for the future, and then that can also serve for the future European policy. So I would like to start somehow that action, if it is possible, and then to see how to work on that. Of course, we can use the next meeting in the Spain to discuss that further, but this is just brief idea from my side.
Thank you, Miki. Any comments from IODL side on this?
Maybe I can just confirm that the deliverables that we are developing this project should cover the question you're raising. The project is not only aims to do beautiful ideas, but actually make them something that is useful. And I would say that very much we're open for contributions. As you know, both ERCA and PREPARE have an active role in developing these recommendations as per grant agreement, which is the sort of contract that binds all together in this project. And therefore, that's as much as resources you can put on contributing to that from what's obviously available in your capacity and so on, that will be very much the case. And that's one of the dimensions of that we are developing. But of course, to get there, we have to have a number of steps in which we hope to have ERCA and PREPARE all along working with us on that, both in the meetings like next week and the week in 2 weeks' time as well, but also in preparing the actual documents. Thank you. I don't know, maybe, sorry, Carla, you want to elaborate further?
Yeah, I wanted to comment and add something indeed on this formal recognition of community-led initiative, which perhaps they are a bit overlooked and they are not recognized in their full potential. I think PREPARE was mentioning indeed the potential also for this new motto of the European Commission, competitiveness, on indeed how community-led innovation, they really serve into providing services in those areas which are harder to be reached by authorities at different level because of financial limitation, but also for other reasons, as well as the where market is not arriving, and therefore on the need perhaps of a European Union to recognize such service and such as eventually European public goods to be really recognized. But also I wanted to mention and credit the work of Ecolis on community-led initiative, because over the past few years, they did a lot of as well mapping around community-led initiatives, and certainly is also an actor to team up in this framework. So, yeah.
Thank you, Serafina and Carla. Do we have any other questions or comments?
Yeah, just one. Wanted to raise the hand, but then I started. It was difficult to find. No, reflecting on also the comment from Miki and also previous interventions on what is community-led innovation. And yeah, I didn't read for example, the reference made by Carla by Ecolis, but also trying to reflect on the insights from the presentation from Jan, that I thank you very much for the presentation, because indeed was the last minute, and it was I had to comment live, but some aspects that also from our side we see that are really key in defining what is community-led. One is really from what is the origin of the innovation. It really should start from a precise and identification of the problem of a local area, and the direction should be really bottom up. Sometimes also in large projects is not always the same, and this has an impact on how then innovations are developed. Another key aspect that Jan highlighted, which is to me very important, involvement of stakeholders. Are stakeholders, should stakeholders be involved all the time, or there is a timing when these have to be involved? This is another important aspect that this it is key. We really hope to then collect all these reflections that come from maps and to systematize, because there is let's say a discourse on the process of community-led, on actors, on roles. We see also in the maps that who is the best actor to lead the community-led innovation process. This has an impact also on actors that you involve or not, has impact on participation, has effect on the final outcome of the smart solution. And this is the third aspect that probably Jan highlighted also. It is difficult to limit the impact of these community-led innovation. In this sense, we are talking about digital innovations, and I think Carla mentioned that the digital technologies are not an end in itself, but as a mean, and the mean to attain transformative innovation. And in this sense, I think Jan highlighted that when innovations have an impact on decision making, so it has an institutional effect. This might be an effect to describe. Difficult to evaluate, how you to evaluate the transformation on institutional level. So these are just some key highlights that we hope to let's say systematize and describe as the from the University of Pisa side as all the community-led innovation process proceeds.
Thank you, Carlo. And maybe you had a comment on the chat, so maybe you could intervene about that.
So from Teona, I read, thank you, interesting about the language issue. We are not homogeneous, so as much as one size does not fit all in terms of services, nor does it fit linguistically at every level, and that is important. Yeah, indeed, in this sense, it is an issue that we observe on several. I think we will experience it also during the next EURIF event. That when you engaging and interacting with local people, language can be a barrier. In our cases, the most difficult part, I think, resides on the interaction between the map leaders, the map community, and the smart solution providers. Then in this sense, all the activities that take place locally, since are driven and organized by the map leaders, which is a local itself, is not an issue, but is this problem of interaction with the external actors, smart solution providers, sometimes prove to be challenging, and yeah, I don't know if Jan wants to add something.
Carlo, I think it's time for us to begin drawing towards the end. So if Vanessa and Kim can do the conclusions now, or we're out of time.
Yep.
Oh, we maybe can take 2 or 3 minutes. So if you tell them you had one comment on the chat about this issue, if you want to intervene, you can. And then we have Mickey that raised hand as well. But those were the last ones. But okay,
we've run out of time, Kim, I'm afraid.
Well, we started 12 minutes late, so
yeah, Mickey, some people have to go.
Very short intervention, Mickey, and then we conclude.
Yeah, very, very practical things. We discussed that open innovation and community-led innovation concept internally within the PREPARE. And yesterday we had one quite interesting webinar with Anol about open innovation concept. So if you agree, I would like to put in the some thoughts and our discussions and that we had in the paper, maybe just one page or something. and then we can share that with you as some kind of the impactus, something like to start thinking about that community-led innovation framework that I had in mind. Of course, I would like to firstly, we have to discuss that with our European Rural Parliament partners. Before I will share that, we will also discuss that internally within European Rural Parliament, and then after that, so we can have something in the writing, and then we can use it maybe in the Spain to discuss further, and then to see how to proceed with that. If you are okay with that, I would like to take that initiative on board.
Okay, thank you, Miki. And we are now going to conclude this very interesting webinar. And Vanessa, if you could, from European Rural Community Alliance, say some concluding words or comments that you...
It's been very interesting. I'm quite sorry that not more of our members turned up. That's probably just late notice, I would think, but maybe we didn't advertise it in the right way. It's a pity because it's a very, very, very interesting project for all of our members, no doubt about that. We will share this on our, the recording will be available, and we'll share it on our websites, and also it'll obviously be available for the FUTURAL project if you want to share it on your website, because actually your presentations were a very, very good, manageable overview of what's going on in FUTURAL at the moment. And it's a complex project to understand. I've been involved in it since day one, and it is complicated. Many players, many perspectives. I think the comment I would like to make from the ERCA side is that I would kind of reiterate what's been said by many people now, and Carlo said it at the end of his presentation, is about the sort of community side of it, because we are very much bottom-up organizations that represent organizations that are linked to grassroots communities. We've all been involved in trying to do work at local level. We all know the kind of problems that there are. And I think one of the things that's occurred to me with these Horizon projects is that there's a bit of a mismatch between the realities on the ground and what the Horizon frameworks demand. Because you're, as the organizers of the project, you're all working to specific timetables. You've got to produce KPIs. You've got to do it on a certain date. You've got to report this, that, and the other. People on the ground don't work to those timetables. And I think that was said very clearly by Jan. There's a frustration in there in a way that, you're asked to do certain things, but it's actually quite difficult for people sometimes to keep up with that. And I think, sorry, I've experienced that personally, so I'm going to have to go and take this phone call. Just a second.
Okay, so I will jump in with some of my conclusions. It will be just some pictures and images, not so much conclusions. So my first one is don't reinvent the wheel again, a very classic one. So you have the wheel in one place, but it doesn't fit in all places. If you are on a certain territory, if you're in the Alps, or if you're on grass, or if you are on asphalt or the other place, the wheel has to be different. It means that you have to have different solutions from different places, and there must be some transferability, but you learn on the process. During the process. And the other one was on the white paper that Miki said. So I like the idea because sometimes I start my presentations with a white paper or a white slide with nothing in it, meaning, okay, do we want those empty places? And then we put one spot there, and that might be the village. And then we go getting small circles, getting it bigger. So you start to cooperate with your neighbors, with the neighboring villages, and you come up to the functional area. And there you have to find the right tools and the right places and the right capacities. And I think this is what FUTURAL is about providing these tools and mechanisms and policies and others to make that happen. So those would be my two images and refer to FUTURAL and to ERCA and PREPARE in general. And I would like to conclude with those words, but maybe we still... if Vanessa want to still say something at the end.
I don't think so, Kim. I think we've learned the line. I think it's been a much more informative event than I actually thought at the beginning, thanks to Jan in particular. But I think it's been very, very interesting, and I hope we can share the outcomes with our member organizations. and build on this. So I'm very, very grateful to everybody who's participated today. And as I say, it's been a good reminder and a memory reminder for us what Future is all about. And I think the results will be excellent in 2027. And we see you in Bilbao next week, hopefully. Until then.
Or something like that.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you a lot.
Okay.